Hello, and welcome to our webinar, Amazing Picture Books. I'm Julia Smith, Senior Editor, Books for Youth at Booklist. Before we begin, I'd like to go over some technical details. Links to today's slide presentation and title list were included in the reminder email you received from Zoom 1 hour ago. To download them, please open that email, scroll to the bottom, and click on the links located there. You can also download the slides and title list by copying the URLs on this screen into your web browser. If you have any trouble accessing these materials, please contact us at webinars@booklistonline.com. The audience is in listen-only mode, but we welcome any questions you may have. On the bottom of your screen is a toolbar with a section for Q&A. If you have a question or need technical assistance, simply click Q&A and type your message into the box that appears. We will do our best to respond to all tech-related questions, and we'll pass along all other questions to today's panelists so they can follow up with you after the webinar. Last but not least, Booklist offers closed captioning on all webinars. To enable or disable captions on your screen, please look for and click the live transcript icon on the toolbar mentioned earlier. From there, you can select show or hide subtitles from the menu that appears. If you choose to enable subtitles, you can adjust the size of the captions at any time by selecting subtitle settings. Today, we have the pleasure of hearing from Casey Griffin, Marketing Manager at Phoenix International Publications, Anna Erickson, Vice President of Sales at The Creative Company, Emma Davis, Digital Marketing Coordinator at Owlkids, Michaela Stephen, Sales Coordinator at Second Story Press, Megan Jones, Marketing Director at Greystone Kids, and Emily Cook, US Publisher with Scribble. First, we'll hear from Casey Griffin. Casey is the Marketing Manager at Phoenix International Publications. As the Marketing Manager, her duties include developing marketing plans across imprints, creating monthly newsletters to showcase new and seasonal titles, coordinating with licensors for creative collaborations, and managing Phoenix International Publications' participation in industry events. Her favorite part of her job is the ever-changing day-to-day, and that each day presents new challenges and opportunities. Thanks for being here today, Casey.
Hello, thank you for having me. So, like Julia said, I'm the marketing manager at Phoenix International Publications, but today we're really going to talk about our imprint Sunbird books. Sunbird is the home to all of our original picture books, and we host up-and-coming writers and illustrators from around the world. Next. So I'd really like to start by introducing our It's Our Story series. These books are full-color graphic novels for ages 7 to 10 that tell the stories of amazing women, from scientists to writers and entertainers to activists who change the world. Next. It's Her Story, Shirley Chisholm is one of the 2 most recent to be published in this series. Shirley Chisholm, as we know, was the first Black woman elected to the US Congress, but this book really shows her whole story, starting from her childhood in Barbados to even after her death, when she was honored the Presidential Medal of Freedom. So there's a lot that this book covers that is accessible for kids that, may not be for other Shirley Chisholm titles. Next. Amelia Earhart grew up during the early years of flight and became a record-breaking pilot. This book really shows her story, her struggles, her perseverance, her hard work. She was determined and inspired to face, or inspired many female pilots and astronauts. This book also just came out in February, so these 2 are available now. Next. It's Her Story, Josephine Baker is one of our two It's Her Story books publishing this fall. The author, Lauren Gamble, was actually a featured panelist a couple weeks ago at SLJ's Day of Dialogue. For any of you who attended, you might have seen her there talking about this book. Recently, Josephine Baker was actually the first Black woman to be entombed in the Pantheon in Paris because of all her work as an entertainer, but also her work for the civil rights movement. So it's really, really interesting read. It's Her Story, Rosalind Franklin is the second It's Her Story book publishing this fall. Her story is really about working hard and what you can accomplish when you study hard. Rosalind got her degree during World War II and then went on to get her PhD. She worked so hard, and because of her, we found the double helix DNA. And this book really talks about in depth how she worked to find all of this information. Next. I just wanted to give a quick shout out to the upcoming It's Her Stories. Next in the series for 2023 will be Sacagawea and Irina Sendler, so look for those. And then we have Bloom. Bloom is a timely tale about the effects humans are having on the oceans. It's beautifully illustrated by Julia Seal, who won quite a few illustrator awards, and she's already decorated a few bookstores in the UK with the jellyfish from this book. It really is beautifully illustrated, and Luna is captivating. Luna is the jellyfish. It is really captivating, and children will love these bright colors. The Bear Who Didn't Dare is part of our social emotional picture book series. It really sends the message that it's okay to do things at your own pace and to do what feels right to you. It's a very sweet book that will be very helpful for both shy and outgoing kids. Home is Where the Hive Is. It's another timely tale about the effect people are having on the environment. It's a cute and friendly book that sort of subtly teaches little ones about habitat loss, biodiversity, and community. The back pages have helpful things for people of all ages, things that they can do to help pollinators feel, more at home no matter the environment. Musical ABC is written and illustrated by Natalie Briscoe. It's a super cute alphabet book featuring animals and instruments, some of which are uncommon and will expand little vocabularies. SLJ called it an appealing presentation of an enjoyable topic. All because of the tale. Little Tulio, our little mouse friend, lives in a park and is so discouraged that everyone is afraid of him, and he is very jealous of the squirrels that get fed peanuts. It's a lovely little story about finding people who will accept you just as you are. My Imagination is written and illustrated by Jeffrey Turner. A relatable and prickly porcupine names and describes a variety of imaginative experiences that kids can relate to, like listening to music and imagining you're the conductor, or imagining you're a daring trapeze artist while playing on the playground. So it's super relatable and really helps kids get in touch with their imagination, and We Are the Rainbow, Colors of Pride was written by Claire Winslow and illustrated by Riley Samuels. It's a little book for little readers that tells them all about the different meanings behind the colors of the pride flag. The last pages talk about the history of the pride flag and how it's changed over the years. An important note about this book is a portion of the proceeds of this book are being donated to the Trevor Project. So it's always nice to have a book with meaning. Bork is written and illustrated by Reese Kitson. This not exactly wordless picture book shows the importance of finding common ground and making yourself understood. There's a fun little downloadable on our website that you can cut out, and you can little kids can have their own little Bork desk pet. So it's very cute and very fun to have somebody hanging out with you while you're doing your work. Who Jumped into the Bed by Joe Radigan and illustrated by Julia Seal again. It's written in a sing-songy verse and it is so catchy. Kids will love guessing and seeing who jumps, flies, and slithers into the bed next. Endangered Animals World Tour starring Rooster Flats. It's such a cute book. It's another environmentally topical book that increases awareness of animals and how our actions are affecting them, but keeping it on a level that kids can understand and still enjoy. Black Swans by Laurel Vanderland and illustrated by Sawyer Cloud. It's about 6 groundbreaking Black ballet dancers and their journeys into the dancing spotlight. It really dives into each of their stories, which is why there are only 6. The last page has a special author's note with even more Black dancers for kids to, research and learn about. This one comes out November 8th, and we are all very excited about it here. That's really it from me. This is all of my contact information and where you can find us on social media. A quick note, all of these titles have or soon will have extra downloadable content on our website. So if you like the book, there's definitely something else for you to discover on our website as well.
Thank you so much, Casey. We'll now hear from Anna Erickson. Anna has worked in the children's book publishing industry for over 25 years, and she is stubbornly convinced that all children deserve access to high-quality reading material. She is based in Oakland, California. Take it away, Anna.
Thank you, Julia. It's so great to be with everyone today. I'm going to talk about 2 lists. First of all, Creative Editions, and then Amicus Inc., both of which are distributed by the Creative Company. Creative has been working and publishing in Minnesota for nearly 100 years. We're on our 90th year. So it's a very exciting time. The picture book program has been around for the last 30 or so. And the Creative Editions picture book list in particular is a lovely combination of classic and contemporary, and it really plays with the tension between those 2 things. You see that through everything Creative Editions does, starting for books for the youngest kids, such as Coral, which is the 3rd in a board book trio that pairs rhyming oppositions of different natural phenomenons. In this case, we're looking at coral. The prior 2 books looked at eggs and seashells. Beautifully illustrated and a very, again, kind of classic feel with a contemporary twist. You'll also see that in a little program of board books we're doing that play on classic children's games. Most recently was Ready or Not, Here I Come, which played with the hide and seek game. And in that we met a friendly little zookeeper and a motley crew of critters who were off on a game of hide and seek. And this board book included a whole array of prepositional phrases. So you were learning where something was, above, below, and such. But really the emphasis is on the art, the friendliness, and the sense of fun. The next in that little program is coming this fall, and it's I Spy with My Curious Eye. And this is just a lavish little picture book. You know, this is a small picture book format, but the art is so vivid and vibrant. I think it pulls in adults as much as kids. Keywords are kind of highlighted in the text. So nice little prompts if you're treating this as a read aloud with a small child. And in this case, our little character is traveling through a green landscape in her hot air balloon, spying different little things along the way. And they tend to join her in the balloon. There's a lot of detail packed in here. So if you have the good fortune to read this book, 70, 80,000 times, each time you go through it, there's another little bit of the detail that you might not catch the first time. But you see how the art really enhances the text and really brings things to a whole new level. That's true too in the picture books that Creative Editions produces. No better example than Color, which was published recently. This is Christina Rossetti's poem with contemporary art by Letitia DeVernay. And if you were coming at this and didn't happen to glance at who the author was, it might feel like it was written yesterday. But Christina Rossetti wrote this poem in the 19th century. But somehow, again, the juxtaposition, the tension with the beautiful contemporary art brings it fully into the present moment. It's like a nod to the past, a nod to the future, meeting very beautifully in the today. So obviously color is the theme here, but it has a whimsical sense to it, a whimsical feel. And this image in particular, I just love the yellow pears. You'll see that feeling again for Creative Editions in The Red Canoe, which is a book that's out just now. And The Red Canoe follows the fate of a red canoe, which starts its life early in the 20th century and is much beloved by a young boy and his dog who explore a summer lake. It's very idyllic. The detail in this art with the cross hatching is incredibly detailed. But the original owner is called away to war, and there's kind of a level of understanding that an adult would bring to that story that's not going to be evident to the younger ones. But the adult can see that he's in a uniform and he's leaving, and it's implicit in the illustration that he doesn't come back. So there's a sense of sadness and nostalgia as the red canoe languishes in a shed for many years. But it is rediscovered. It is pulled out by this young fellow and his little dog and his dad, and they bring it back to life and float it on the lake once more. Mother Winter is a great example of a book Creative Editions does that is very seasonal without being holiday specific. In this case, Mother Winter plays on a fairy tale that's woven throughout mythology, but really kind of comes primarily from Eastern Europe. And the original fairy tale is a little dark. The Mother Winter figure is a bit ominous. But in this retelling, that is faded to the background, and she becomes this figure who strides through the winter nights and with her long flowing gown, and even invites the kids in the little village to come and ride on the trail of her gown. So if you're looking for a book to celebrate a season, in this case, the feel of winter, without a holiday theme, it's a lovely choice for that. It just evokes the splendor of a dark night and all of the luminous beauty woven through it. Creative Editions has also been really good at bringing historical and biographical nonfiction to life. And the next book, Sashiko, does that in a fictional format, but this is describing the art of sashiko, Japanese stitching, quilting, and it explains where it came from, what the need was that drove it, which was basically fishermen and off the islands of Japan who were out in boats in all kinds of weather. And in order to create warmer jackets for them, they developed these quilted layers of fabric held together by intricate stitching. The stitching became incredibly artistic. And sure enough, this is something, if there's any fiber arts fans in the house today, you may be familiar with this. And if not, keep an eye out. I see it cropping up in my local yarn store. It's rising again in popularity. But it's a beautiful classic craft and tradition that is explained with a poetic text and full back matter in a lovely package. And last on the creative editions list, before we switch to Amicus Inc., is A Song for the Cosmos, which is really two stories in one. It's the story of Blind Willie Johnson, the blues musician who was born shortly before 1900 in Texas and had a short and very difficult life. He was blinded as a child, but he learned to play the guitar using an actual cigar box guitar that his dad made for him, and became a master of the blues genre, even when he was blinded as a child and had to make his living often busking. His life is part legend, part myth. There's a lot of the specifics are not nailed down, but he was an amazing talent. And about 30 of his songs were captured on a record, including his classic ballad, Dark Was the Night, Cold Was the Ground. And if you haven't heard that, it is worth a quick Google. It's an amazing song. And it talks about that, but then fast forwards to the 1970s when the Voyager spacecrafts were being launched. And many of you will have heard of the golden record that were included on the spacecrafts, images and then songs and word that were meant to be sent out into the cosmos in case these spacecrafts encountered other life out there. I always thought that this was something that was a incredibly, well-planned project. They must have agonized over those choices. Turns out, no, they had to slam that thing together in about 2 weeks. But Carl Sagan and his team did so, and one of the selections they made was Blind Willie Johnson's Dark Was the Night, Cold Was the Ground. Okay, and then quick nod over to Amicus Inc., which is a lovely list of very friendly books for young kids. Amicus means friend in Latin, and that plays through everything they do, including the Little Nature Explorers board books. These are colorful, welcoming board books that work beautifully as read alouds. Again, the text guides the reader, so you get the feeling of the rhyme, gust, gust, blow, changes slowly show, as well as a seasonal feel, a seasonal ambiance to everything they do. This is an ongoing series. It's, again, very friendly, very welcoming, lovely bread and butter books for small kids. But they also do things that involve learning concepts in wacky and delightful packages, including the Great Cookie Kerfuffle, which documents an exciting day on an otherwise placid farmyard when the local farmer accidentally drops a chocolate chip cookie out of his lunch bag. And it begins to attract attention, and then it begins to attract competition, and then it begins to attract absolute chaos as everybody vies for this cookie. There's a counting element as each grouping of animals competes for it with the next. And then there's a countdown element as the entire farmyard realizes that they're not really competing against each other. They actually need to pay attention to what's going on above with a group of hawks, and they protect one another. The whole thing ends in one of my favorite spreads of the season, One Colossal Cuddle Puddle of Friends. One Blue New imagines what would happen if technology was let loose in a zoo. One Blue New, of course, would get on his phone and invite two white sheep over. They would spread the word, and it would escalate from there to a crazy, raucous pool party. And that might end badly if the uninvited guest, Mr. Tiger, was hungry, which he was, but in fact, he was hungry for pizza. So no carnage ensued. And last but not least, Sun and Sun takes Amicus Inc. to a father's and son theme using pairing words to share how the sun rises in the sky and reflects just as the father and child spend time together. Thanks so much, everyone. That is it for us.
Thank you, Anna. Now we'll hear from Emma Davis. Emma is the digital marketing coordinator for Owlkids books. When she's not organizing a webinar, writing catalog copy, or designing ads, she's at the park with a good book and a strong cup of coffee. She lives in Toronto, Canada. Take it away, Emma.
Thank you so much, Julia. And since I live in Toronto, I have to apologize in advance for any construction that you hear behind me. It wouldn't be a webinar without that. So if you don't know Owlkids Books, we're an independent publisher of award-winning books for children based in Toronto, Ontario. We're distributed in the United States by Publishers Group West. So today I have the pleasure of showing you all some new picture books for spring and giving you a peek at what's coming for fall. So first we have The Tunnel by Sarah Howden, illustrated by Erica Rodriguez Medina. This is about a boy coping with his emotions after something bad happens at home. This bad thing is intentionally never described so that the story can apply to a variety of experiences. The boy doesn't want to talk about his feelings, so he decides to dig a tunnel from his bedroom deep down into the backyard. We see his journey as he digs and crawls. I love how the art reflects his mood with the dark tones and pops of red in this spread. After getting some space from his family, he recognizes their love for him and willingness to support him. Now he feels ready to come home. And when he returns, his mom spots a twig in his hair. So was his journey real or was it imagined? Either way, his mom welcomes him home and is ready to support him. It's a striking and timely book about facing something tough and taking time and space to process emotions in our own way. So next up, we have A Park Connects Us by Sarah Nelson, illustrated by Ellen Rooney. This picture book walk through a park invites readers to see the ways shared green spaces bring us together. Readers observe a day at the city park where a diverse group of visitors, kids and adults of all ages, engage in play, have picnics, interact with nature, and more. It celebrates parks as inclusive, accessible spaces, and the many ways that they connect us to community and to nature. Without a screen in sight, this book gently hints at the adventures to be had offline and encourages readers to venture into nature and connect with their neighborhoods. It also includes back matter about the history of urban parks in North America, and this book would be relevant to events celebrating the bicentennial of the birth of Frederick Law Olmsted, the architect and social reformer who was instrumental to the development of parks in the United States. Next, Pink is for Everybody by Ella Russell and illustrated by Udayana Lugo. This book is a celebration of the color pink, and it's a celebration of self-expression and acceptance that goes beyond the binary expectations of gender. One boring, rainy day, a group of kids discover a treasure chest filled with costumes that are bright pink. They dress up as astronauts, painters, aliens, palace dwellers, and more, except, of course, one grumpy cat who does not like the color pink. But that's okay. The sourpuss is honored and accepted, and even gets a costume in their own favorite color. This is a great, upbeat, and inclusive message about choosing what you love while respecting the preferences of those around you. Next, While We Wait by Judy Ann Sadler, illustrated by Elodie Duhamel, is all about patience. A boy and his grandmother are waiting for something, but we don't know what. They pass the time singing, snacking, sitting, knitting, and waiting in a rhythmic refrain of text. They sit and knit and wait, and it is taking forever. There's a lovely intergenerational relationship between the grandma and grandson here. There's also connections to social emotional learning, self-regulation, and crafting. By the end of the book, what we've been waiting for is revealed, and oh, is it cute? The boy's parents come home from the hospital with a brand new baby, and the boy and his grandma have knit the perfect gift for the new arrival. Next up, Free, written and illustrated by Baru, is a picture book about problem solving and thinking outside the box or the cage. This is a more philosophical book that can be read on a lot of different levels. When the Great Bird Circus is headed to a show, Paloma, who is the little girl there, and the ringmaster are missing the proper paperwork to get their birds across the border. Thanks to Paloma's quick and creative thinking, they decide to open the cages, allowing them to surpass the bureaucracy while the birds fly freely across. This quirky and lovely book is great for encouraging creative thinking and new perspectives. Next up, My Delicious Garden by Anne-Marie Fortin, illustrated by Julien Castagnet. This is about a girl who tends to her garden lovingly throughout the seasons. This book celebrates the process and the joy of growing food from scratch, starting with planning, then planting, weeding, watering, and harvesting. It moves through each month where the girl has the agency and initiative over this project with just a little help from her moms. The book ends with harvesting a bounty for friends and family and celebrates the joy of sharing food. This is a great introduction to the idea of gardening, community gardens, or different fruits and vegetables. And I really like how it shows a family in a rural environment as well. Next, I'm very excited to share some of our upcoming fall titles with you. So let's begin with The Line in the Sand, a new wordless picture book by award-winning author and illustrator Tao Lam. You may remember her as the author of librarian favorites The Paper Boat and Tao. In this story, a group of friendly monsters are playing on a beach when they notice a strange line in the sand, but not, as you'll spot in this spread, the meandering tentacled monster just dragging a stick behind them. The monsters begin to argue as they try to figure out why the line is dividing the group. What does it mean? Should they cross it? Can they cross it? Tensions mount and a scuffle ensues. It's only when the stomping and kicking completely erases the line that the friends realize the conflict stemmed from a huge misunderstanding. This book is universally relatable, quietly profound, and encourages readers to think about conflict and communication. We also have a little treat for you, an animated trailer for this book that's available on our website, owlkidsbooks.com. Next, How to Party Like a Snail by the hilarious Nassim Harab and illustrated by Kelly Collier. This funny and heartwarming story about finding friendship through shared interest and unapologetically being yourself. Snail loves parties, well, the quiet parts of parties, like confetti and the moment before everyone yells surprise. But when it gets too loud, he pops back into his shell. Snail's friends don't understand why he doesn't love loud parties like they do. When he stops getting invited to their parties, Snail decides to plan his own celebration. His party has all his favorite things: warm milk, lullaby lip syncing, but there's one thing he needs to make his perfect party complete: a friend to share it with. This celebration of introverts balances humor with messages about inclusivity, perseverance, and belonging. Next up, we have Beautiful You, Beautiful Me by Tasha Spillett Sumner, illustrated by Selene Pereira. This story is a beautiful portrait of a multicultural family, or multiracial family, inspired by this author's Cree and Trinidadian heritage. One night, cuddled up in Mama's lap, Izzy notices something she's never noticed before. Her skin is the color of chocolate, but Mama's skin is the color of sand. As Izzy notices more differences, Mama responds with a gentle, loving refrain. You're a part of me, and I'm a part of you. I'm beautiful like me, and you're beautiful like you. Finding lessons from nature and repeating her affirming message, Mama encourages Izzy to see her own unique beauty. This story celebrates diversity within family units and shares thoughtful insights into identity and self-esteem. Finally, we have Revenge of the Raccoons. This unique underdog story is written by artist, performer, and author Vivek Shreya and illustrated by Juliana Neufeld. Tonight, raccoons are hitting the street to tell their story. The trash pandas engage in all sorts of mischief, from snagging donuts to scampering through subway cars. The humans react in horror. But halfway through the story, the perspective changes. The raccoons reveal that they're not invading the city, but rather reclaiming it from the real interlopers, humans. This story playfully approaches themes of urbanization and environmentalism with lively rhyming verse and vibrant illustrations inspired by old horror movie posters to keep kids engaged. And that is all for the titles I wanted to share with you today. Thank you so much. I do just want to take 1 minute to highlight a few resources. As I mentioned before, we have a website, owlkidsbooks.com, which we recently redesigned and it looks good. So please go over there for discussion guides, coloring sheets, and more. And we're also going to be putting some resources for the coming fall titles up there as well, so keep an eye out. We also have a frontlist catalog and a fabulous backlist catalog with books organized by topic and theme to meet any particular need you may have. You can also visit NetGalley and Edelweiss for DRCs of these books. And on our site, you can sign up to receive our e-newsletter where we share books on topical themes each week, like Earth Day, STEM, global conflict, sibling relationships, and more. And that's all. Thanks for listening, and I'll pass it back to Julia.
Thank you so much, Emma. Next up, we have Michaela Stephen. Michaela is the sales coordinator at Second Story Press. She has an MA in English Literature from the University of Calgary and a publishing certificate from Centennial College. She's based in Toronto, Ontario, where she lives with her cat, Banana Loaf. Take it away, Michaela.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. I love hearing about everybody else's books, and I'm so glad to be part of the conversation. So as Julie said, my name is Michaela, and I'm the sales coordinator at Second Story Press in Toronto, Ontario. My pronouns are she/her. Here at Second Story Press, we publish diverse, inclusive feminist books for all ages that entertain, educate, and empower. Up first, I want to talk about a couple of our brand new Spring 22 picture books. The first one is Like Cats and Dogs, which I have right here. It was illustrated by Marion Arbona and translated by Chantal Bellaudet and written by Mélanie Perrault. Originally published in French as Rosalie entre chien et chat, it was a finalist for the Governor General's Award. This absolutely stunning picture book features a young girl learning to navigate the dynamics of her parents' divorce by focusing on their love for her. Rosalie's parents fight like cats and dogs, even now that they're divorced. It's hard going from one house to another and knowing that although she loves them both, her parents just don't get along anymore. But there's one thing her mom and dad do agree on. They both love Rosalie, and she will always be their top priority. The book has been featured on CBC, the Montreal Review of Books, and more. Here are a few spreads from Like Cats and Dogs, which I just love. Like Cats and Dogs validates the complicated emotions that accompany a divorce for children, including sadness, confusion, and even optimism that this could be a positive change. The sweeping illustrations by Marion Arbona highlight the conflict between Rosalie's parents, the recurring theme of music, and the feeling of helplessness that can result from divorce. The book provides reassurance to children whose parents divorce that no matter what, their parents love them. Rosalie's voice is mature, and the sentiments expressed are heartfelt and earnest. Up next are two of our other Spring 22 titles that just came out last month in May 22. Runs with the Stars and Wajimabatun Anangana. Released both the English-only edition and the dual language edition in English and Ojibwe at the same time. The books are co-written by Darcy Whitecrow and Heather M. O'Connor. They're illustrated by Lenny Lishenko, and the dual language edition is translated by Kelvin Morrison. Runs with the Stars has been praised by Publishers Weekly, Open Books, CTV, CBC, Teach Magazine, and more. Both Darcy Whitecrow and Heather O'Connor have been invited widely to participate at in-person and virtual festivals. With his partner, Kim, Darcy Whitecrow runs the nonprofit Grey Raven Ranch, where they have been raising and caring for the Ojibwe horses for the last decade to help preserve the breed and the tradition of symbiotic interaction with the Ojibwe people. Darcy has recorded videos of the horses at the ranch to use at upcoming events for Runs with the Stars to show children the actual horses. This is a touching story about the Ojibwe horse, an endangered breed cared for by the Ojibwe people of Lac La Croix. In Runs with the Stars, a young child's favorite horse is about to give birth. While they wait, the child's grandfather tells the story of the Ojibwe horse, how it nearly went extinct, but then how the Indigenous people brought it back. The Ojibwe horse continues to be endangered. Runs with the Stars, Wajibimatun Ananganang, is an important story highlighting both the conservation of the breed and the relationship between Indigenous people and animals. Up next, I'll be highlighting some of our upcoming picture books that you can look forward to in fall 2022. This is this is my personal favorite from this season, Phoenix Gets Greater by Marty Wilson Trudeau. So I have an advanced copy right here. Marty wrote it with her son, Phoenix Wilson, and the book is based on his life. The book is illustrated by Megan Kiak Monteith. Phoenix Gets Greater tells the story of a young gay Indigenous boy embracing his two-spirit identity with the support of his family. We've recently received an early blurb for the book from Joshua Whitehead, the award-winning author of the novel Johnny Appleseed. He wrote, Phoenix Gets Greater is a timely and necessary addition to our collective two-spirit stories. Its collaboration between mother and son, its engrossing color palettes, and that reflect Anishinaabe acceptance and wholeness, and its charming, swirling protagonists make for a story that should be shared with all of our children. Broaching the vast topic of two-spirit identities, Marty Wilson Trudeau and Phoenix Wilson have made a book I wish I had when I was a kid. The wonders this book will do for our Indigenous and/or queer youth. Can't ask for a better blurb than that. So Phoenix Gets Greater comes out on October 11th, 2022, and it's available to pre-order now. I think this will be one of our big titles of our fall season, so keep it on your radar. It's also a perfect one to pre-order now since it's both Pride Month and Indigenous History Month. Just to show you some of the slides, but I'll tell you a bit about the authors. Marty Wilson Trudeau is an Anishinaabe Cree writer who lives in Sudbury, Ontario. She works as a high school drama teacher. Phoenix Gets Greater is her debut book. Phoenix Wilson, her son, is a two-spirit Anishinaabe actor and dancer and is very proud of who he is. This fall, he'll be going into grade 12. He can be seen in such TV and film projects including Longmire, Letterkenny, and he was in the critically acclaimed movie Wild Indian. As for the illustrator, Megan Kiak Monteith is from Pond Inlet, Nunavut. She is an Inuk illustrator and painter. And in her illustrative work, she prioritizes working with Indigenous stories. So Phoenix Gets Greater is a heartwarming, encouraging story. The amazing illustrations show how Phoenix loves to play with dolls and marvel at pretty fabrics. Most of all, he loves to dance, ballet, powwow dancing, or just swirling and twirling around the house. Sometimes Phoenix gets picked on and he struggles with feeling different, but his mom and brother are proud of him. With their help, Phoenix learns about two-spirit people in Anishinaabe culture and realizes just how special he is. Based on the child experiences of her son, Phoenix, Marty Wilson Trudeau demonstrates the difference that a loving and supportive family can make. So Phoenix Gets Greater introduces two-spirit people and their role in Anishinaabe culture. So two-spirit identity is a third separate gender identity, so it is not synonymous with being trans. It is unique to Indigenous peoples in North America. In a nutshell, it's an umbrella term for those who house both masculine and feminine spirits. While two-spirit people have existed for centuries, the term two-spirit only came into use relatively recently. There are few to no other books for children about being two-spirit, so Phoenix Gets Greater will fill that gap perfectly. Another one of our fall 2022 picture books is Nona and the Girls Next Door by Gianna Patriarca and illustrated by Ellie R. Scott. It comes out on September 13th, 2022. This lovely story shows how the invaluable relate a bond between grandmother and grandchild, especially when the grandparent is a partial caregiver. Many children are looked after by their grandparents after school, and this relationship is illustrated with reverence and nostalgia. Gianna Patriarca is an award-winning author of 11 books, poetry, and short fiction. Her work is extensively anthologized and adapted for screen. This is her first children's book, and it was inspired by her own grandchildren. As for Ellie R. Scott, the illustrator, she grew up in a small Ontario town where 3 generations of Nonas before her also called it home. Her illustration debut, Night Walk, was awarded a SCBWI Canada East Crystal Kite Award. In Nona and the Girls Next Door, the main character feels very jealous of the 2 girls who live next door. They have a treehouse, a dog, a turtle, and each other. But when our protagonist finally brings over cookies that she bakes with her Nona, she realizes her neighbors are jealous of her too, and her relationship with her grandmother. Sometimes what we have already is the most special thing of all. The longing and mild jealousy the protagonist feels towards the girls next door is all too familiar for young children, as is the realization that those we envy often envy us in return. There's a lot of social emotional learning aspects for the story that make it a real standout. This is one of my favorite pictures spreads from the book. The universal bond between the girl and her Nona is enhanced by Italian cultural touchstones like baking a biscotti. The book will find a home with Italian Canadian, Italian American communities, and more. So another exciting fall 2022 picture book is Tada, the story of egg donation, written by Ella Kay and illustrated by Farida Zaman. For those familiar with Second Story's books, you might recognize Farida Zaman's distinctive illustrative style as she previously illustrated When Mom's Away and I Want to Be a Gutsy Girl's ABCs. Tada, A Story of Egg Donation comes out on September 6, 2022. This is Owlkids' debut book and was inspired by her desire to explain to her own children how they were conceived with the help of an egg donor in straightforward and positive language that emphasizes the parent-child bond. Here are some of Farida Zaman's lovely illustrations. And tada, a curious young girl asks her mother how she was made and learns all about her parents' journey with egg donation. This lighthearted but sincere book is the perfect introduction to one of the many ways that babies can join a family. Here's one of my favorite illustrations of the book as it adds a bit of a humor to a difficult topic. Ella Kay is launching an online brand called Birds and Peas, spelled P-E-E-S, positioned as a hub of fertility information to help others. As diverse family structures are more widely embraced and celebrated, the conversation naturally moves towards different ways that a child can join a family. There are few to no books on egg donation, so Tada fills an important niche. As it is Indigenous History Month, I also wanted to mention some of our other dual language Indigenous titles, aside from Runs with the Stars and Wajima Matun and Anganang. All our Indigenous titles are award-winning and highly praised across North America. All of our picture books, which you see here, are available in English-only editions or in dual language editions. We have titles in Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Plains Cree, Mi'kmaq, and more. So I'll try and be very brief here. So this is just looking ahead to next year in 2023. So we don't have final covers for one of these books, but we just have these gorgeous books we're so excited about. The one on the left is the 25th anniversary edition of the award-winning bestseller, The Girl Who Hated Books by Manjusha Pawaji. This will be a special hardcover collector's anniversary edition that will include 8 pages of additional materials, including letters from kids to the author over the years of their love for the book, an author interview, and images of the girl who hated books, translated editions from all over the world. And in May 2023, you can look out for I Am Big by Ita Sadhu. This endearing picture book is about a young boy struggling with how he's treated in sports because he's seen as big and Black. People assume he's dangerous when he's just trying to play a sport like everyone else. This important title discusses racial assumptions, even among children, and learning to embrace who we are. And also show you spreads for 2 more of our spring 2023 titles. We don't have the covers yet, but the artwork is just so gorgeous, so I couldn't wait to show them off. The first one is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, written by Nadia Umadat and illustrated by Christine Way. It tells the story of a young girl and her family who are refugees and learning to love their new home. And the last book I'll show you today is Be in Between, another one that we don't have a cover yet, but these illustrations just speak for themselves. They're written by Valerie Wood and illustrated by Angela Poon. It tells the story of a young Chinese girl who's adopted. She loves her parents, but she struggles with the distance from her Chinese identity and looking different. Through dance and a wonderful bond with her instructor, she becomes comfortable with who she is. So that's all from me. If you're curious about any of our titles for one of our digital or print copies, such as an advanced copies for our fall 2022 titles, you can find us on Edelweiss, or you can send me an email at michaela@secondstorypress.ca. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michaela. Next, we'll hear from Megan Jones. Megan is the marketing director at the independent publisher Greystone Books and its imprint Greystone Kids. Take it away, Megan.
Hi, thank you so much everyone for coming. All of these books are so incredible and it's such a delight always to talk with librarians. I'm just going to dive right into our fall 22 titles, which are, selling now. We're distributed by PGW Ingram. So you can just go to the next slide. So this is our lead picture book for the season, Still This Love Goes On by Buffy St. Marie and illustrated by Julie Flett. These are 2 incredible creators who have come together to create what is such an unusual and stunning book. So Buffy St. Marie, if you aren't familiar with her, is an icon, a legendary folk singer who really rose to fame in the 60s and 70s with, her friends like Leonard Cohen and, the great folk singers of the time. And she is a children's book author as well in her own right. And when our editorial director shared one of Julie Flett's book with her, Birdsong, which you may know as well that we published in 2019, Buffy started flipping through the pages and immediately started singing one of her songs, Still This Love Goes On. Julie's art really made Buffy think of that song that she wrote back in 2008. So Julie jumped at the chance to illustrate this original Buffy St. Marie song, and we have this picture book. So you can flip through to the next slide. Julie loved this project because she usually illustrates, narrative stories that she writes or somebody else writes, and this is a song. So the song is really a love letter to seasons, to the land, to the people of a Cree reserve where Buffy stayed while writing the song. Buffy is a Cree Indigenous identified, and Julie is also Cree as well as Métis, so they share that connection. And yeah, Julie just loved illustrating to the more abstract lyrics of the song. You can keep flipping through. And these illustrations are just absolutely stunning and gorgeous and filled with so much joy for Indigenous people in the land. And I think kids will just really love this book. I think it's a great sing-along for your shelves or read along. There's sheet music at the back. You can find the song wherever you stream your music. And a lovely author's note and illustrator's note close the book with a really lovely sentiment behind the story. Make sure you check out our other books by Julie Flett. So Wheel, Play, and Birdsong, which are so critically acclaimed. We just love publishing Julie and Buffy, and to bring them together into one book is just amazing. So look out for that one in September. Okay, moving right along to Luminous, Living Things That Light Up the Night by Julia Kuo, whose most recent book, Let's Do Everything and Nothing, was a huge success this spring and continues to be. So we're really excited to be publishing our first book with Julia. You can keep flipping. This is a nonfiction picture book, really focusing on science, which is something that Greystone Kids loves to do. This book would be great for read-alouds as well. There's a narrative poem that goes through that follows a mother and child as they explore the science of bioluminescence. And then you'll see smaller text that shares the science behind each spread. So this one is dinoflagellates. The next slide is a deep sea fish that makes its own light. So lots of incredible science there, and truly a stunning book. The cover will have spot glass and will really pop on the shelf. Moving on to another science inspired book. So Fiona the Fruit Bat by the bat scientist Dan Riskin shares the story of a little fruit bat who learns to fly and hunt for food using echolocation. This publishes in September as well, but I think it's such a perfect Halloween book, actually. You can keep flipping as I talk. And yeah, just really great. We love that a bat scientist wrote this book. He's never written for kids before, but it's such a fun story. He has 2 kids himself, and they talk a lot about bats together. Rachel Creaky did the illustrations. She's super talented. Ways to Make Friends. This is publishing in August. It's such a good back to school title. Jairo Buitrago wrote this incredible story. He's a real powerhouse kids book author in Spanish language. This was translated to English by Lisa Amado. The illustrator Maria is incredible as well. And it just follows the quirky story of a little frog who makes a lot of mistakes as he tries to make new friends. And I think it just really will make kids feel comfortable and okay with kind of being embarrassed while they make new friends. And that's fine. In the end, you'll make friends who love you for you. So great back to school title. My Uncle Is Coming Tomorrow is a really strong and unique and important book, I think, for your issues collection, maybe global issues. This book shares, the important issue of forced disappearances. So in the book, a child waits for their uncle to arrive and waits until old age for their uncle to come and never has that closure of knowing what happened to their uncle. We're publishing this book in English and Spanish simultaneously, a bilingual edition. Oh, you can flip back. And the issue of forced disappearances is not one that's often talked about. Really, it just refers to state-sanctioned disappearances committed by the government or military in power in a country. I think this is a really timely book right now when activists and artists are speaking out against totalitarian regimes in their countries. And a teacher's guide will really give the full scope of the issue. And I'd say this book is for a little bit of an older age range. I'll just really quickly talk about the next title. This is middle grade nonfiction, The Museum of Odd Body Leftovers by Rachel Poliquin and Clayton Hanmer. You can just flip forward. This book is about your vestigial structures. So your body's useless parts, like your appendix or goosebumps, all sorts of different things. And the book itself is structured like your body's a museum, and a wisdom tooth takes you through the museum as your tour guide. So lots of fun science in here for a middle grade audience. Make sure to check out our educator hub on our website, where you can get videos, audio, and teacher's guides all downloadable for free. And that's it for me. Thank you so much for attending this whirlwind presentation, and Greystone Kids will be at ALA, so we really hope to see you there. Bye.
Thank you, Megan. Finally, we'll hear from Emily Cook. Emily works with several international publishers, including Scribble Kids, where they publish books with bright Pantones and child-centered content. The floor is yours, Emily.
Thank you, and hi, everybody. It's nice to see you today. I'm here to talk about Scribble books. I also have the pleasure of working with Greystone Books, and I'll be at ALA too, so I hope you come by to see us. We can just go ahead to a backlist title that I wanted to highlight for you. This is I'm the Subway. It won so many awards last year, including the New York Times Best Illustrated and the World Illustrations Award. It got 6 stars. This is a really special book. You can flip forward through some of the slides, and I just want to point out that if you haven't gotten it yet for your collection, you should definitely add it. We had some stock issues and we reprinted it, and the reprint is finally in now. In this really charming book, you meet all the people who take the subway every day, and their gray faces become richer as you get to know them. There's also a very lovely ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum that goes through the book. You can flip ahead there. There we go. And I just wanted to flash up the notable backlist and just say that Scribble is especially known for its beautiful, bright poppy colors. And everybody comments on them. And once you've held one of the books, you know that you're in Scribble land. So the next slide has a couple more of our favorite backlist that we wanted to mention. And then we can move on to a book that's coming in August called Katerina Cruikshanks. This is a joy-filled cheer of appreciation for loud troublemaking and outrageous kids. Katerina is a wild child, a trickster and a ringleader, and also non-binary. When they wreak some serious havoc and chaos, their friends decide that they've gone too far and say no more. Brimming with humor and warmth, Katerina shows us that there's no such thing as being too much. It's just a matter of finding friends who will love you as you are. Again, this has bold Pantones, and Katerina asserts themselves on their own terms. Nobody makes a fuss about their pronouns. They are who they are, and the show goes on. It's a little bit Eloise, I think, in the illustrations. And here we have Off to the Market. This is coming in the fall, published to coincide with harvest festivals and celebrations in schools. Each spread reveals a new market stand and its produce and sustainable food systems, with warm, fun introductions to the increasingly important topic of where our groceries come from. It also acknowledges the market stall holders and farmers by name and recognizes their unique skills, celebrating the value that they bring to our communities, again, in popping Pantones. Here we have All the Ways to Be Smart. Now, this is a favorite for so many. We've sold well over 50,000 copies in the US, Australia, and the UK. It's been featured on PBS. It was adopted by New York State for their curriculum. And it also was just on the BBC Kids program with Stephen Fry reading it. If you can track that down, which you can online, it's really fun. This is a really wonderful rhyming book about all the ways that everybody is smart. It's great for story times. I know a couple of librarian friends who say their story times are starting again. And I wanted to flag this because we're republishing it in board book form next January. And then finally, I have questions I'm asked about the Holocaust. We did this book as a sort of adult book several years ago. And we are making a new young readers edition. We don't have our new cover yet. But if you scroll here, you'll see, so Heidi Fried survived Auschwitz, and she immigrated to Sweden. In Sweden, if you're running for prime minister and you want to get the vote, you have to meet with Heidi Fried. Everybody goes and has tea with Heidi. and if she gives your endorsement, you sort of know that you've got a leg up. Heidi has been going to school. She's a trained psychologist for over 40 years to talk to students and to answer their questions. And this book is simply a list of the questions they ask and her answers, written in the tone of the best Montessori preschool teacher. Even questions like, what was it like to have your period? Were there kind SS soldiers? What happened to your sister? How many people from your hometown survived? What made you start lecturing? What was the best and what was the worst? I put here part of her answer to what was the best. She says, the best, could anything have been the best? When I got this question, I was confounded. Nothing was good, but there may have been some moments when we could forget where we were and even laugh. And then she goes on to elaborate. This will have a whole new guide for teachers and illustrations if you forward the slides, and I thought you might all like to see what sketches look like when an illustrator is just putting them together but hasn't finished yet. Heidi says one of the lessons of the Holocaust is to never get used to injustice. Injustice is like a grain of sand, and you don't feel each little grain of sand, but the more they build up, soon they're falling through your hands and it's too late. It's a beautiful book to look out for. And thank you so much for letting me present today.
Thank you so much, Emily, and a big thank you to all of today's wonderful panelists. Tomorrow, all attendees will receive an email containing links to today's slide presentation, title list, certificate of completion, and video recording. For more about Booklist webinars, be sure to visit booklistonline.com/webinars, where you can view archives of past webinars and register for upcoming ones like those you see here. Not yet a subscriber? Pair the print reading experience with the convenience of online access at booklistonline.com and lock in print, online, digital, and archive access by taking advantage of this special webinar offer to get Booklist for only $75. Patron-friendly, librarian-approved, and free with a Booklist subscription, Booklist Reader, Booklist's new digital-only magazine highlighting diverse readers' advisory recommendations for all ages has arrived. To see and share the latest issue, visit booklistonline.com/reader-issues. And we are very excited to share that Booklist, Booklinks, and Booklist Reader recently joined the Overdrive Machines program in partnership with Zinio and are available for your patrons to read in Libby. Heading to ALA Annual in Washington, D.C., Booklist has a ton of events happening during the entire conference to fill all your library and reading needs. We have 2 Read Graphic panels featuring your favorite graphic novels creators, award shows galore, and a panel dedicated to fighting censorship in your school or library, a read and rave with library reads, author signings, book giveaways, swag, and more. Stop by booth 1427 or follow our Twitter page at ALA_booklist for the latest on all of these events. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. And one more huge thank you to our panelists and our sponsors, Phoenix International, The Creative Company, Owlkids Books, Second Story Press, Greystone Kids, and Scribble. This concludes today's webinar. See you next time.